You are now tuned in to the Cosmic Convos podcast, your number one source for accurate, relevant, and thought-provoking astrological conversations in the podcast nation. The place where stars and minds align.
Peace. You are now tuned into the Cosmic Convos podcast. I'm your humble host, Harut, and we got our good brother here, Brother Ra. How's it going?
Great to be back, King. Great to be back.
Man, me as well, man. You know, here to knock out this next season, man. It's, you know, we in critical times right now, man.
Yes, we are, my brother. We are in very critical times. Things are shifting and changing.
Indeed. But you know, before we get too, you know, deep into today's subject, I want to remind you all that this episode is brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group and Caliprusia Astrology and our good people over there on Patreon. I can't thank you all enough. I say thank you all for, you know, all the support, all the feedback. You know, we've been interacting with you all, you know, through the little intermission between season 2 and season 3. And just throughout this whole process, man. So I thank you all for all your contributions and everything like that, man. You really add some great value to the show or whatnot. But you know, as always, you can find Push It Forward Media Group on Instagram at Push It Forward, PUSHITFWD. You can find us on the web at pushitforward.com. You know, also check out Ninth Lord Films, right? 9TH Lord, LORD Films, FILMS on Instagram. And also find us on the web at ninethlord.com. There we got short films. Push It Forward, we got, you know, articles, and you can also find the Cosmic Convos link there and get your, you know, chart package and different things like that. Brother Ra, how can the people get a hold of you?
You know, same old same, Caliprusia Astrology at gmail.com. You can hit me up on Facebook or on IG via Shekhem Ra. So either one of those would definitely get at me. People have been pretty consistent in using the Caliprusia Astrology at Gmail. That's the best way. But if it doesn't get to me in time enough, or if you need something immediate, then you can use either Facebook or IG.
Indeed. And, also follow us follow Cosmic Convos on Instagram, right? We're at Cosmic Convo on Instagram. You can follow us there, and we're at Cosmic Convos Podcast on Facebook, right?
Right.
So definitely hit us up there. You know, we definitely get a lot of interaction there on both of those platforms. You know, so that's a good way to get in contact with us and different things like that. And that's where you can also find a link to our Patreon. So if you're interested in Patreon, definitely go check us out there on Instagram or Facebook. You hit the link in our profile, and it'll take you right there to go, you know, show us some love or whatnot. All right. But yeah, man, we're here at season 3. You know, man, we this is episode 51. Episode 1 of season 3, but episode 51 overall, man. It's, you know, man, this is shot by like like lightning, man. How you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, you got 51 episodes. It's a nice little number, you know. It's going to be really momentous when we get to a nice little 100th episode celebration. We've got to do something real special for that.
Indeed, man. That's right around the corner.
Yeah, you know? It's coming up real quick.
Yeah, we'll be there in 2021 next year.
Exactly.
Indeed. And to that point, I definitely want to let you all know we got a big announcement for you all. And it was actually a long time in the making. There's quite a bit of a thorough review process, but Cosmic Convos podcast is now on Pandora. So that's definitely a good plus because they don't accept every podcast. When I say it was a 3-month process, it was 3 months and some change. And the plan was to announce that on last season, but it took so long. We had to wait into this, but it came right on time. So, the podcast is growing, man. We're really, getting in good spaces and stuff like that. We're seeing, we're getting to people, in different parts of the world, even India.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh
India.
yeah, we got a few people from India that tune in.
We got a good number of people from India that's listening across platforms and stuff like that, man. So we definitely are humbled to be in the space and to be able to talk about the science and for people to be able to listen to it and be able to get something from it. Indeed. So, all my Pandora listeners out there, you can now check us out on there. So definitely show us some love on Pandora. Help us get those analytics up and stuff like that so we can keep taking this podcast to the next level or whatnot. So, it's first episode. I don't have any questions from Patreon specifically outside of what we, just general input into the season. And that's another thing too, right? Of course, we got a plethora of topics that we could just sit here and come up with on our own. But on Patreon, people make suggestions, and 9 times out of 10, we do shows on it.
That's the way it works,
right? So if you got something specific that you want to know about, Patreon is a good avenue to do that because when we sat down, we planned this season out. We took into deep consideration what everyone suggested through Patreon. So, I definitely encourage you all to do that. So, outside of that, though, we don't have any questions.
Okay.
So, I think we can go ahead and start, move into today's topic,
dive on in.
In typical fashion, last season we started it off like this. And I think personally it'll only be right to, start this season off with another astrological ages show.
Indeed. Let's
right?
do it.
We're going to keep moving backwards through the zodiac and, land this right here at good old Taurus.
That's where we're headed. That's where we are. We're going to jump right on in.
The age of Taurus.
The age of the bull, right? So, last time we really had a good dialogue. We talked about the age of Aries, what came out of that whole kind of energy zone that was over the planet for 2,160 years, and got good responses on that show. We got a lot of good feedback. So
one of my favorites.
It is one of mine too. I'd have to admit. Definitely.
Yeah.
But here on Cosmic Convos, we're all about discussing the cosmic seasons, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what this series would kind of take on. And that it'd be nice for we can, for you Patreons, if you're interested, we might even have something where we have a whole, when we're done, right? Have a whole cosmic seasons kind of download for you, where you can take and sit back and just unwind and let the seasons flow, and let's let the podcast flow and go through each of the ages, in sequential order.
Indeed.
But today we're definitely going to get into the age of the bull, and so these dates are really kind of in a way debatable, right? But using some profound systems, we usually can get within a few years, right, of the age at the actual beginning of it. And so the age of Taurus really a good solid number is right around 4129, right? When we're into that particular energy zone of Taurus. And so
Yeah.
from 4129 to right around 1925, that's what we're looking at as far as the age is concerned, the number of years, beginning and end. And so, Taurus is a sign that really, in fact, one of the strange things that some of the conjecture that is out is that they say that Taurus was considered as the first sign of the zodiac at one point. It's kind of in vogue in India that there's an argument that the age of the bull was actually the head of the zodiac, and Aries was the tail end. And there's different reasons why different people say the age of Aries is the beginning of the zodiac. I side with that theory.
Yeah.
And there's different reasons why, but nonetheless, when we start talking about antiquity, right? We're going back, so many thousands of years. Man kind of, if you will, loses consciousness and kind of doesn't have a good bead on what happens unless he's under a civilization that is using the cosmic cycles to create heaven on earth, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons why our ancestors did it, is because you keep a constant memory of what's going on, right, around you. You don't forget, right? And if something happens over time, you can go back and see what the cosmic season was at that time, right? So we etched it that way so that it stood it stood the test of time. It stands the test of time.
Yeah.
Right? And what better time to build something that stands the test of time than in an age that literally it is symbolized by a creature that is extremely staunch, right?
Yeah.
Robust, right? Unmovable, right? Considered to be of value in the sense of its prowess, right?
I mean, it's stable.
And its fecundity, right?
I mean, if you, especially in ancient times, you're living in an agricultural type of environment, man. You know that creature is a staple. It's solid.
It's core to your civilization.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're talking about plowing. We're talking about moving large items. We're talking about transportation, right? This is all of the symbol, right, that the age is under. So, as above, really, it's so below. Right?
Yeah.
It's the way this works. And so when we know that the age of Taurus really talks about, number one, it's an earth sign, right? And earth is that sign that we deal with practicality, tangibilities, materialization, construction, building, right? Things that are solid, right? That's the earth energy.
Yeah.
And this whole 2,160 years is a testament to that process of building and using earth, right, as the means of reflecting as above, so below. The other piece is, and Taurus is, all of the zodiac signs have layers and layers and layers of meaning. But when you really become familiar with the fundamentals, Taurus is a sign that deals with family.
Yeah.
Right.
Values.
Family structure, values, right? Morals, right? And when you begin to look at how this plays out on Earth, right, you see that age was really when the family structure was very solid, right? Around the world, right, cultures, civilizations were very stabilized, and in order to have a viable family unit and a societal structure, stability is of the utmost importance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Taurus being that symbol of stability, right? The bull is something you can count on, right? It's going to be there. It's formulated to literally be able to withstand and endure. And so the family structure, right, literally, you can see across different civilizations, from the Indus Valley to the Nile Valley, or to the Hopi Valley. Even in the Americas, right? this was a time that really provided with a stable background for civilization to flourish. And so, if we understand the core of civilization, right, is family, right? Without a solid family, right, you can't reproduce, you can't stabilize, you can't educate, you can't come up with inventions and so forth. So this is really a period where we understand that
Well,
time is stating, hey, it's time to settle down.
well, I
Right?
mean, that's just the foundation of a nation in general. I mean, it's a collection of families.
That's exactly what it
If
is.
you
Right? That's exactly what it is.
a
That's
lot,
nothing but that, right?
yeah,
And so when you begin to really take a step back, it's phenomenal. And the way it's revealed in that those families, right, in the Hopi Valley or the Nile Valley, right, began to create a leadership structure, and that leadership structure was family based, right? And what we call the dynastic rule is based on family structure, right?
without a doubt. I mean, yeah, without a doubt, that's exactly what it is.
Right?
Yeah,
And so many rules and regulations were set up to instill that family structure was stabilized. One of which you could not be king unless the queen mother appointed you, right? And so, having that structure, right, which is Earth, right, allowed us to have a civilization that lasted for over 4,000 years, right? And it was stabilized in the Age of Taurus. Right. Yes, we had other ages, and yes, we had other ways of dealing with each other through governance, through civilization, and through laws. But when the Age of Taurus began, that is when things began to shift into the agricultural type based society. And if you understand Taurus, Taurus is a sign of food,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which is another tenet of a stable civilization, right?
And it's the solid piece that, I mean, when you reflect, when we look at the ancient civilization, especially when we talk about ours, it's the period of time where the most stuff is remembered, not remembered, but a lot of the things that was produced during those time periods is still exists in some shape or
Exactly,
form. It's,
exactly.
you get tangible.
We're gonna get into that, right? We're
Yeah,
gonna talk about why that is, right?
yeah,
But absolutely, I mean, this period is the kind of springboard for the model of civilization that we actually even have currently today, right? I mean, you think about the bull. We can even look at it from the cow perspective, and as Osirians, you don't drink milk and do certain things, but for the most part, many people in the world, the cow's milk is a sustenance, right? For for stability of the home. The milk, the cow, it gives selflessly and it gives endlessly, right? And so that age produced that type of resonance throughout the other ages, where we still look back as almost that's a golden age. In fact, it is interesting that we call it a golden age because the epithet when the in the Bible, when these things were changing over, right? One of the things that they took with them out of Kemet was a golden calf.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? Quite interesting that they would use that as a symbol to destroy that symbol to bring in a new era, right? Bring in a new law, bring in a new structure as far as Hebrew governance. So, it's just these things show you that this is what was happening at the time, right? Even in the Bible, it's mentioned, right, that this age was considered the golden age, right? Taking the calf as a symbol, golden calf as a symbol. And, we look to Kemet, and I don't want people to say, well, you all just jump on Kemet's bandwagon. And Kemet is just the epithet of being able to show how civilization looks when you use the model, the cosmic model, right? The
Yeah.
cosmic model is built into Kemet's structure. And when we get into the season, the Age of Gemini, even in the Age of Gemini, it was there, right? So this is not something new. People think that the Age of Taurus is when Kemet was proper or came about as far as civilization. No, we had civilization far before that, right?
Oh yeah.
But the Age of Taurus is when we solidified and changed according to the times to be able to create a civilization that reflected the as above, so below. And so, doing so, right? This around now, there's other cultures that attest to this. I don't want Kemet to be the sole source of or a testimony to this particular process, because you have other cultures that simultaneously are doing this. The Indus Valley civilization created a whole civilization where they had running water,
Yeah.
had pipes, they had toilets, they had baths. I mean, I'm talking about baths like it's in public baths, where before Rome or Greece or any of them came about any kind of concept of a public bath. This was founded in the Indus Valley civilizations. And so, of course, writing, right, all these things were refined, right, and put into a structure that literally allowed civilization to flourish, right?
Yeah.
And this is in the Indus Valley, right? This is before any Hinduism or any type of isms, right? For the most part, they were practitioners of yoga, again, the Shamanic way. And there's a book that I've mentioned in the past, The Most Ancient Aryan Society. They go into depth about how the society was structured in a very agricultural and a very sophisticated way. So, I don't want Kemet to be the sole testimony of what the Age of Taurus was about. But again, because civilizations really didn't at that time have the kind of knowledge and technology how to bring the heavens down like that, Kemet is just really the best source. Right?
Yeah. So it was the most refined.
And we're going. And in fact, it's funny that you say refined, right? Because the sign of Taurus is governed by the planet of Venus. And Venus is nothing but what? Refinement.
Yeah.
Right? Art, right? Culture, right? Male-female relationships, right? In fact, Kemet is known, right, for its treatment of its women, right, and upholding the woman, right, as a valuable part of society, right? This was all witnessed and really shown, right, in the Age of Taurus. So again, right, knowing and understanding, right, as above, so below, the Age of Taurus is the kind of bedrock, right, in which we garner all of our institutions, whether it be medicine, right, whether it be literature, right, art, science, right. You get these things out of a stable society, right? When society's in flux, when there's wars, when there's famine, when there's instability, things don't become refined. They're pretty gross. They're pretty base. They're pretty much, you do with what you need. And it's strangely enough, the age prior to the Age of Taurus is the Age of Gemini, which is the age of duality and the age of instability.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would bet your bottom dollar that the writing system was created in the Age of Gemini and refined in the Age of Taurus. Right? Because they ask, well, how did a civilization come up with this writing system out of what? Nowhere. It wasn't out of nowhere, right?
No.
The Age of Gemini would have already Age of Gemini, which is the sign of communications, would have been the precursor or the means or the energetic kind of envelope that is produced in. Right?
Well,
but go ahead.
I mean, one of the main things that, if you're just talking about contemporary, history or whatnot, is the problem that the reason why they can't put it together is because they try very hard to disconnect, the southern Nile Valley kingdoms from what was going on in Egypt, right?
Right.
Because when you connect them, then it's just like, it just opens up for you right there. You can see the connection. You see where the writing system come from. You see the stuff leading up to all the stability that we see in the Age of Taurus and different things like that.
Exactly, and that's the process that the cosmic seasons put us through. What we call the grand plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, the divine plan. Right?
Yeah,
this is over thousands upon millennium of years, so it's not the divine plan is carried out in each age. And so, understanding that, right, when we look at the Age of Taurus, one of the things that we have to understand, this is the foundations of the civil side of law, of kingship, right? The spiritual side was founded back in the age prior to, right around 5500 BC, when the star of Asar, which is Canopus, was really in play, right? But in this age, right, this is the age when we literally understood the literal civil or mundane side of kingship, right? And so right around when that age began, right, that's when these kind of things were, recognized, understood, and contemplated on and implemented. And from that, right, that's when the dynastic rule of Narmer and so forth really began to create this grand civilization. But the thing is that during this time, right, because it's an earth sign, we don't necessarily just read it from the perspective of Taurus, because Taurus is a sign that has intricate relationships with other signs. Mm-hmm. And so the Age of Taurus, when we understand, this is the age of pyramid building, right? This is the age when monumental, right, structures were created, and those monumental structures are still an attestament to the knowledge and power that was garnered in that age. And so 4 signs from Taurus, if we count, right, and Taurus is going to be the first of those signs. Taurus is 1, right? Gemini is 2, Cancer is 3rd, and Leo is 4th. Well, in astrology, one of the things is a fundamental basis of understanding is that when the sun rules a particular house, right, that house becomes the house that individual has mastery over, or that sign has mastery over. And so Leo, right, being 4 away from Taurus, the 4th house deals with the tangibility of home and physical land. So in the Age of Taurus, the individuals that were in play, the individuals that were using the cosmic ambiance to bring as above, so below, they became masters of the physical world. They still can't duplicate what they've done in that age today. Right?
Yeah.
So that shows, right, the mastery, the control, right, and the understanding of physical matter.
Well, I mean, you could even take it to a next level, because it's basically the economy, the way the economic system that they set up that keeps them from being able to, produce structures that way. I mean, it still fits into that vein of mastery of the physical world, but it's not a lack of ability. It's just the fact that if you set up a physical economic system that keeps you from being able, your reason for building civilization is different than the reason that the people during the Age of Taurus was building civilization. It's totally different. So your economic system, all that stuff, will keep you from being able to put forth a structure or anything like that, because your whole premise for living and doing this is totally different.
Exactly. Well, you're right. And then it's a byproduct.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a natural consequence, right? And a cause and effect that when that age is in play, right? Because of the stabilization of society, and also because they were able to use, right? I mean, you got to think about the fact that the Nile was engineered, right? The Nile is not just, it didn't just flow, right? Because it flowed that way. These things were the Nile was engineered to flow that way. They literally have cataracts, right, that talk about how in the beginning the Nile was in a different position. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you contemplate that for just a second, to change the, and I'm talking about before machines, before computers, before, you see what I'm saying? Like, the
Hmm.
concept of this is beyond our thinking because we really have so much access to things that we just take for granted. But if you didn't have a computer, right, to come up with the calculations of this is a mastermind, right? To
Hmm.
build something that is so solid that it stands the test of time. It's a mastermind. That's literally, you can control physical matter to a level in which most people can't even fathom to do something like that around the world. Right?
Yeah.
So that kind of knowledge and that wisdom, right, comes from, of course, the other thing that Taurus represents. And Taurus is a sign that exalts the moon at 3 degrees.
Hmm.
Why does Taurus exalt the moon? Well, because Taurus again is the sign that stabilizes things. And so the moon, because of its wondrous ways, right? Because it goes from from no moon to full moon back to no moon. This kind of vacillation, right, is solidified and stabilized in the sign of Taurus. Right? And so that stabilization we call santosha, or peace.
Hmm.
Right? And peace is what allows man to come up with the more profound inventions, right? The more profound ideas of how to construct society, to really to build a pyramid, to get people to work together as a whole, right?
Yeah.
It's a mastermind. I mean, think about, from the simple fact that you have different crews doing different things for 20 years plus. 20 years. That is a monumental feat, right?
And to that point, and like I said, I'm not trying to step on nobody's toes, but I mean, there's actual record inside of the pyramids of the people who were actually the laborers
Absolutely.
on the pyramid. They
Yeah.
weren't
I'm
slaves.
sorry about ancient aliens, y'all. Sorry, ancient aliens, right? It's not that way, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, we built it, right?
Hmm.
And so, nonetheless, right, knowing that that age of literal, I mean, the age of Taurus is the age of peace,
Hmm.
right? There were literally, of course, you had skirmishes and wars, but for the most part, the masses of society, the masses of the world didn't have a warlike disposition at all, right? The Aryan Age brings that, as we discussed previously,
Yeah.
right? So this is it.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it goes right from peace into war, right?
'Cause they're trying
So
to.
it makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah.
If you're sitting at an age of peace, right, and there's a warrior coming through, it's this foreign, right? It's like, what is this? Who is this? What kind of thing is this, right? I mean, warfare for the most part wasn't done in any way, shape, form, or fashion the way it was done until the age of Aries came. So literally, this is the age of peace.
Yeah. And people like to, they like to say things like, all throughout human history, people have always been, bickering about it.
Of
It's just not
course,
true. I mean,
well,
we there's been skirmishes,
skirmishes, right,
but
but
not
not massive
not what you
war.
see today.
No,
And the same type of, because we wasn't colonizing people.
no.
We didn't go and try to subdue you and make you our,
Subjects,
subjects. That
because
wasn't.
it was done through peace.
Yeah.
It was done through an exchange of knowledge. It
Yeah.
was done through gifting things that would help further other civilizations, because we understood that if one civilization is furthered, then we get things out of that return and exchange.
Exactly.
So the age of peace, right, is far more just beyond just building. It's actually stabilizing the world at large.
Yeah. Because
And
I
so
mean, you got trade during that time. You got trade partners,
right.
from all across the globe.
India,
Everybody's eating.
yeah, everybody's eating. Exactly, everybody's eating, right? I mean, from India to Kemet, they had a
Yeah.
civilization, they had a trade route. You're talking about in Arabia, right?
Hmm.
I mean, all these civilizations, right, were literally under the guidance of the energy of the bull. And not only that, I mean, and people say, well, no, that's not true. Kemet didn't. Oh, really? Let me say this, right? During that particular age, the kings literally put the name of the bull inside of their title. Mentu Hotep means the bull is satisfied, right? The great bull is satisfied. What? Right? That's
Yeah.
to show you that literally they took on the title, right, and energy of what's going on around them, right? Cosmically speaking, right? So, this is it's again to show that our ancestors were wise enough to understand that in order to create a stabilized civilization, you have to borrow from what's above.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
You have to take that which is the imbibing energy, right, that is filtering down into this planet and literally just create with it. And here's the strange thing. The age of Pisces did that. The age of Aries did that, right? Even though maybe the age of Pisces wasn't under Kemetic guidance and rule, it still played itself out.
Yeah.
These things they have to. Right?
And it's a trip, man, because when you look at it, right, because, I've had even, some of my, West African, you know, um, brothers and sisters and stuff like that, and be like, well, why do black people, connect with ancient Egypt so much? Most of y'all are from West Africa, but when you look at that and, just kind of piggybacking off what you just said, when we do our DNAs, they try to tie us to countries, but really you're looking at ethnic groups, right?
Right.
And then when you study the migration patterns of the various ethnic groups, then it all makes sense because they knew what time it was. They knew what time it was. They knew things were changing. So you have these various priesthoods and stuff within the Nile Valley civilization start traveling west.
Yeah.
Down you got the, of course the Dogons, they have, stated that, yeah, we come from Egypt, the Yoruba, right? Some various groups out of Central, like the Sadakaba people out of Chad,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. That's a trip too, because that's a regular, like that's a mainstream ethnic group, and their name, that Sada part of it, literally means, sons of Ra.
The word Bantu itself is a Kemetic word.
Yeah.
Into, right, which is the integer, which you put Bantu, Kintu, right? Anything that goes with the into is the inter. The inter is the NTR, which is right out of Kemet. They're the same civilization.
They did DNA on Ramesh the third, or Ramesses the third.
Mm-hmm.
And his DNA, his haplogroups match with the Bantu.
Yeah, I mean, all right, and blah round Ephron men for peeling that off in volume 1, because he showed that the language is, for all intents and purposes, Kemet. There is a book called Muntu that's out there by Jahan's John, and it's a good book, and it shows the kind of thought process. If you can get a hold of the actual book that is mentioned, Bantu philosophy, count yourself considerably fortunate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that is a book that I actually got in trouble with when I was in college. I tried to get that thing, man, and I got I tried to get my degree. They said, yeah, you owe $400 on that. Right? I was like, wow, right? Bantu philosophy, right? Excellent book. Don't remember the author right off, but it's pretty common. You can probably Google it and get access to where it is. But nonetheless, right, these cultures around Africa are, for all intents and purposes, spread outs, right, from when Kemet was an actual major civilization. And there's an article called Ancient Wisdom in Africa. In that article, and it's from the Theosophical Society, so there's some things you kind of have to take with a grain of salt, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the article itself, it talks about the Zulus, which is a Bantu people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And in talking to one of the Zulus, right, the Zulus say that we are from the priesthood of our set. So, right, again, showing that from north to south, right, east to west, right, we all had some part in ancient times interactions, right, with the Kemetic culture. So it's not that we just ride it so hard, but it's just it's the spawn. It created the spawn of different cultures that we have now, such as the Yoruba, such as the Akan, such as the Dogon, such as the Dagara, right? There's
Fulani.
just I mean, there's they all come out of a kind of a bowl, right? Because Kemet is an amalgamation of cultures, right, from different peoples, right? So it just makes sense that is kind of how things went, and that is one of the reasons why I think that Kemet is really just the one of the best sources for us to be able to recognize our civilization at its crown and its height. But it's a classical African civilization, and really, for all intents and purposes, is hard to compare to. But the other thing around the Earth or the world near to actually even Kemet, in fact, Kemet was considered, I don't want to say the rulers, but kind of like the emissaries, if you will, of these civilizations, and that's the Cretan and Minoan culture. And the Cretan Minoan culture, in fact, the Minoans, right, men, the word Minoan, right, and men too, right, comes out of the same word. Men, right, is the one of the two netters that represented, right, that same fecundity, that same raw sexual power that's being controlled and directed, right, like just like that power that's controlled within the bull, right, and we can focus and direct that to get things done. Same thing happens within man when we control that lower nature.
Yeah.
But in the Minoan society, the Minoan society, they literally were ones that practiced gymnastics, right? And what they would do is they would literally let this bull charge them, and they would literally flip over the bull, right? Showing again, right, that the bull at this time was really the kind of symbol, right, of wealth, if you will, which is
Second house.
all the second house,
Yeah.
right, is nothing but wealth. Taurus represents that particular wealth. As a brother stated, the more bulls you had, the more money you had, the more wealth you had. And you can impart a bull, right, to give to your son to marry, right? You can impart a bull, right, as to the priest of the ceremonies, right? You can impart a bull, right? These were this was the way to show that, look, I'm sustainable, I'm good, right? I'm not hurting here. And so it would be the same thing as you having billions of dollars, right? Same thing as you having, right, a full stable of cars, right? Same thing, right?
Yeah.
So that age really, right, is a testimony to the power that that the sign of Taurus can produce in creating, right, a stabilized, right, situation. The other thing, right, to keep in mind is that the artwork that was created at this time was exquisite. I mean, they can't even, and it got better. It did. It got better over time. But we're talking about masterpieces, right? We're talking about, and if I'm talking about even just literature, the Purdon Haru, right? Created the pyramid texts, right? Created at this time, right? And the pyramid text was the Sheshem Duat, right? Which is the priesthood of Ra, right? That was their system, and that was created during this time. And that system is by far, next to the Osirian initiation system, was one of the most powerful in play, right? The priesthood of Ra ran things for quite some time, right? Until, right, things changed. We had different priesthoods for different functions, but for the most part, these were the individuals that were aligned with the pyramid builders, right? The priesthood of Ra, which is the spiritual stormtroopers that literally can get into the inner planes and deal with heavy psychic energies and deep psychic and mental processes to come out to the other side as an awakened being. Right. This is not for the light of heart.
No. Not at all.
Right. Whereas the Osirian system was a lot more kind of palpable, right, for the average man. So, but both of these systems flourished well at this time, right? And so understanding that, right, and why the priesthood has so much power, again, right, it leans back into understanding how they co-opted, right, the ages that were above them. So, the other thing is, even in other civilizations we have, I don't want to leave out Sumer, right? And Sumer, right, was really one of the civilizations that also leaned into the agricultural process of things, meaning that they literally begin to. Now, I don't want people to say, well, agriculture wasn't invented in the Age of Taurus. No, it's actually invented in the Age of Virgo, right? When I say invented, meaning it was refined and taken into a consideration of using it in a methodical and precise way, right? But when the flood hit, things changed, right? And so when the Age of Taurus began, when those waters begin to recess, right, when things begin to stabilize, right, from that particular age of Gemini, then we could literally begin the process of really refining the agricultural process, right? And so that is, again, and we owe all of that to the Nile River, to the Hopi River, because the Hopi River, again, is that showing that particular, right, taking a land on either side of it and then cultivating it to the point where it becomes the breadbasket of civilization, right? Kemet was the breadbasket of civilization even after the Age of Taurus, right? All the way up into the Age of Pisces, really, Kemet was still one of the major areas where they knew, right? Rome knew, Greece knew, right? Persia knew they could get pretty much anything they needed from the land, right? I mean, and this is to take into consideration, it's hard to grow things next to the Euphrates and Tigris, which was the rivers in vogue and in play during in the Sumerian and Babylonian civilizations, but had nowhere near the power that the Hopi River produced, right? Nowhere near the fecundity and the resources that were accessible through it. So again, showing why Kemet also lasted so long and did so well. When other cultures begin to flip, change, become other names, Kemet was still Kemet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but in Sumer, right, during that time, you did have a great deal of literature, right? This is when the cuneiform really became really more popularized and refined and used in a way that was profound. I mean, astrology, right? The science of astrology is stabilized at this time. But also the temples that were built there in Sumer, which were called ziggurats, right? Or ziggurats were actually the base of the temple, and the temple was placed on top, which, of course, they did do observations, astronomical observations, and different ceremonial things. But nonetheless, that was still built in the Age of Taurus, right? And so across that region, across the world, you can clearly see that there is a common theme that is being played out amongst the people on this planet. And so that is to really just show, right, how powerful, right, these cosmic seasons are. We're in a cosmic season now, and we wonder what's going on. You just have to pay attention to what the signs are saying. Pisces is telling you that this is what time it is, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, right, if we're really to begin to construct civilization, again, we have to co-opt, right? We have to literally lean in and work with the energies that are at hand, because, in fact, if you don't, right, when they pass the baton, when the mark hits, when 0 degrees hits, right, you want to be already in that process of passing instead of looking for it, right? And when you run track, right, you're already in momentum before you even get close, right, to changing, right? That person that's ahead of you, it has a momentum, right, that's in tandem with you.
Yeah.
Right. So if we're wise, right, we'll use this knowledge to begin to reconstruct civilization from an African purview, right? And it's going to take thousands of years, right? It's not an overnight process, because we didn't build Kemet overnight, but we definitely, right, took the knowledge that our ancestors applied thousands of years before and reproduced it over and over and over to be able to create something like that. So, with that, right, being stated, this is just like a precursor to really understand that ages as they go, right, are just going to literally replicate everything from as above, so below, even to the minutia of things, right? If you think about it right now, we're phasing out of a Piscean age. Those are growth pains. Those are pains. Those are painful things. Every time an age changes, there's an instability in the world, right? In Kemet, when you saw the age from Taurus to Aries, there was a major instability, a major flux, right? Which the 17th dynasty, I'm pretty sure, facilitated. 17th, 16th, and 15th dynasties, right? That's when the ages were changing, and that's when the age of Amen, boom, right? Then, and you notice all of the kings, what? Amenhotep, 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 right? So it's showing you that literally when the things change over, when the baton passes, you have to be ready, right? You have to be on point. You have to be in sync and in tow with the person that's literally passing it off to you. And so if we're wise, right, we can use this thing to create new dynasties, new civilizations, new things that are, one of the things, and I'm not a big fan of Akon, right? But Akon is actually talking about creating an African city and almost trying to create what we would call, I guess, a Wakanda, if you will. Which, to me, that's what I'm talking about. That's when we're using this thing here to literally take our people from, and people, period, because one type of people that supports all people. When one part of the family becomes better, the whole family gets better. Right? And so, yeah, you focus on your part of the family first. That's my job, right? But I still have the understanding that once my family is better, the whole world is blessed, right? But I have to focus on that first. And Akon does have a phenomenal idea about creating a city, a brand new city with technology, with transportation, with all the things that go with the accolades of Western civilization, right? And so doing things like that, thinking things on things of that level, literally becoming the next person to play. Because when the Aquarian age hits, right, technology is going to be a major component, right, of how things are done. And if we're wise, we'll get on board with clean energy, with changing the world based on what the world needs to happen to make it better. And that's actually where the money is going to come in the next 200 to 300 years. Watch, right?
Oh, yeah.
When fossil fuels phase out, right, clean energy is going to be big money. Right?
I think the major thing about doing these these shows on the ages is that people get caught up. Like, 400 years seems like a long time, but it's
nothing.
It's nothing. Not now. We if you're here today, your bloodline has been here for thousands and thousands and thousands, millions of years. You understand what I'm saying? So this is just a blip and everything.
Well,
So
we think in short terms. So
Yeah.
if you understand that it takes 72 years to change 1 degree in the zodiac, and I'm a man that will exist between now up to 72 years, right? And then my child is 72 years. And then that child is 72 years. And I can touch my child's child, right? So that means that I've touched 300 years of expansion with just two within my lifetime.
Yeah.
Right? If we think about it from that perspective, that's nothing.
Nothing.
Right?
I've done, my family tree, and I can see boom, boom, boom. I've seen the plantation. You know what I'm saying? Where he is at. It ain't that far removed.
That's what I'm saying. So you see, bridging those generations through a cosmic science, right? Through a spiritual science where you literally teach that when this time comes, this is what I need you to do, right?
Exactly.
And so having things where you tie the material wealth to the requirements, to the demands, to the plans, that secures not only the plans will be carried out, but the person that's carrying them out won't do anything but what is required to do with that money. And that's why you have trust funds. That's why you have things like that. We're not playing on that level field, but time changes those things, right? And that's what I say, Akon, shouts out to you, brother. That is a phenomenal idea, right? If definitely drop me, I will definitely be there, right? Right, participating, right, in a whole new paradigm for African people. So, with that being said, right, I'm going to leave it at that. I think this is really a nice, really piece to drop in as the first show, right? As it stated, we're going to do the age of Gemini, we're going to do the age of Cancer, we're going to do the age of Leo, we're going to do Virgo, and so forth, right? So we're hopefully by the time it's all said and done, we'll have all the ages where you can literally just kick back, put on the age show, and then and enjoy.
Indeed. So, as always, with that being said, this episode was brought to you by Push Forward Media Group, Calapusha Astrology, and Patreon. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Cosmic Convo on Instagram, and that's the way you can find a link to get your chart package to holler at Brother Rod. There's a link on there for that. For a consultation and to see to connect with us on all the various platforms. I think we pretty much got it covered. I mean, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Spotify, Apple, Google, Pandora, the new one, and SoundCloud. We're pretty much on every podcast platform, Stitcher. So whatever's comfortable for you, we're there. You want to watch us, you can see us now. If you want to listen to it while you're in the gym, you can listen to it while you're in the gym, while you're in the car, while you're on the train, whatever you're doing, we're right there and stuff like that. And we definitely encourage you all to engage with us, hit us up and stuff like that. We got a lot of, new things coming this season. Different, we
got an awesome season.
Yeah.
Y'all are going to be quite pleased with this season.
Indeed. So definitely hit us up, follow us, share it with your friends, and we'll do it like that. So with that being said, I think we're good. You got anything else you wanna get to the people?
No, that's it. We're good.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you all for tuning in. And for the past 2 seasons, and right here starting off this 3rd season and everything. And, we got a lot more to come. This year, 2020 isn't over. So we got a lot to say about what's going on in that, in that context or whatnot. So everybody stay tuned. We'll be back same time, same place next week. And, everybody stay safe, and we're out. Peace.